Hi, we're here at IE Gallery with Lanny Bergner for his exhibit titled Wings and Leaves. And Lanny's come to talk to us today about his work. And Lanny, thanks for coming over in the rain. Nice to see you.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Good, good. Do you want to maybe start off with whatever you like, how the inception, the ideas of this particular exhibit started?
Started in 2019, and that's when I started working on the insect wings.
Oh, okay.
That was kind of, I responded to kind of the iridescence of the wings and the patterning of the veining of the wings, the delicacy of it. And I saw that I could probably kind of replicate that in mesh. So I started working on some pieces. The ones over here are out of bee wings. So what I did, I found little bee wings.
This pod right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then scanned it, photographed it, and then made larger versions of those wings to make that pod piece.
Oh, okay, so you're starting with the actual pattern of the bee wing.
Yeah,
from a
I
scan.
basically just kind of replicate
beautiful.
what's actually there. So I'm not really making anything up, I'm just translating it over into
Yeah, that's your template.
Yeah, right.
Do you want to talk to the viewers that don't know about your method of working with mesh? Now, the ones that we're looking at were stainless steel mesh with the hanging bee wings.
Yeah, I've been working with stainless steel for a number of years. And actually going back to 1983 is when I started working with mesh, which was just insect screening. So over the years, I've kind of used different types of mesh and done different kind of organic forms. And I've always had an interest in the natural world and organic forms, so that's been kind of the genesis of my work. With the stainless steel, back about 10 or 12 years ago, I discovered that you could use a torch on it, like a propane butane torch, to create patterning, and also just with the heat to create different colors on the mesh.
Yeah, why don't you show us with this one?
Yeah, this is a dragonfly wing. Which I copied. I mean, basically this is a replica of a particular dragonfly wing. And I used a butane torch to kind of make the lines on the mesh. And I first just used a Sharpie and transfer that over to the mesh. And then I go back, and just with the heat, you can create kind of an amber, a little bit hotter, it becomes more of a burgundy, and then a little bit hotter yet, a blue. And when you're seeing the mesh turn orange, like you're looking into the glow of the fire, that will result in a blue tint on the mesh itself.
And that's the hottest.
And that's
Almost?
Yeah. I mean, the gray is the hotter yet.
Oh, okay.
That's where the mesh is turning almost a white hot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, it's beautiful that it has that iridescence that you talked about that attracted you in bee wings, or wings in general, and insect wings.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I enjoy about it is it causes you to have to look very closely at something that normally you might just pass on by. And so having to look close at a bee wing and just see the wonderful patterning and stuff of the wing. That's what excites me about an artist, and then using that in my artwork.
Yeah, and something that's so it's not industrial, but it's such a kind of a rigid man-made material.
Yeah, well,
that can be
it is an industrial material, especially the stainless. They use that in a lot of filtration products and stuff. So there's all these different mesh types in stainless steel. And you just, over the years, I just kind of get to know the mesh, I guess, and what it can do and things. And in the case of the insect wings, that's a real thin gauge that I use because there's more flexibility to it.
Okay.
And it's easy to put a topography on
Yeah.
the mesh too.
So you're molding it with your hands and sometimes
Yeah.
with a little tool that presses
Yeah, I
like a bathtub cloth.
I'll
handle.
use like an eye hook, a large eye
Mhm.
hook, and have it connected to a piece of wood, and then I can kind of press that into my hand
Yeah.
to create the dimples and stuff on
Yeah.
the mesh.
So it's a quiet process. It's not like you think of a lot of sculptors that work in different metals.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of the process is sort of a meditative process, and that's what also a thing that attracted me in the art that I do. I like that part of it, kind of the repetitive part. It's like I sew the outside of the
I'm gonna come up close.
piece.
Yeah, so we can look at the stitching close up.
Yeah, and so that's sewn, but sewn with wire, and I do that just to strengthen the edge and keep it from fraying. But it's it's a sewing process.
That's a lot of this is probably done. Well, that part maybe sitting down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I have a strong light, a magnifying light, and I'll just sit there and kind of sew.
Yeah.
And so.
So sometimes the complexity of the piece has to do with the seams and the edges, how much is required of the sewing, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of ins and outs. It just takes longer.
Yeah.
And so.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Should we move on to? I'll just do one little shot of this lovely mobile of bee wings.
Yeah, with that piece, I wanted to capture the lightness of an insect wing or a bee wing. And then it just moves with whether a little breeze or whatever's in the room.
And then this last mobile piece is the cicada. Do you pronounce it cicada or cicada?
Well, I say cicada, but you say
cicada.
So I don't know. This is this cicada wing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one there was a friend of mine up at Mineport, and she allowed me to see the insect collection there. And so I photographed a cicada and used that as a model for this. And just a few days ago, we started another piece, but it's a flying ant wings.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is the time of year when they come out.
Flying ants?
They're like termite.
Oh, or cockroaches.
So they fly out and then they find out where they're going, and then they shed their wings. So I found some on the porch, but they're less than an inch long.
Wow.
But they scan really well, and they look really beautiful.
Oh, wow.
When you do a scan, so I want to do a piece with that.
Yeah, so this is an ongoing, even though this is like a 2-year kind of culmination almost of your work, it's not like it's the end of a series necessarily. And I often find artists just jump back sometimes a decade and all of a sudden realize they're doing something that they were exploring a decade earlier, but it's always a new level.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
With my work. And so it's like the cycling back, and you catch up to something that, then you see it in a different way.
Yeah.
And then you pick it up again, and hopefully it moves us to another level.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah. And I'll kind of recycle pieces too that way.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of adding something to it because you know something a little bit more, and you can add to that.
Exactly. Yeah. And this body of work that was done pretty much during COVID.
So it took me a while to kind of get back in the rhythm of my work and what I really wanted to do. And that's when I started working on these leaf forms and started exploring that. And it was also at a time when I started to work with copper mesh. And I hadn't done much with that over the years, but I did get a roll of copper mesh and started to see what I could do with it. And what I found is it lended itself very well to working on these leaf forms.
Mm.
And it's because of the color I could get with the torch on the copper, which is very different than what I can do with the stainless.
It's very different. And so all these that we're looking at right now are all copper mesh.
Yeah, these are all copper mesh. All the leaf forms are copper.
And you get some interesting, the greens are very different. You get into some interesting kind of greenish yellows.
Yeah, that's just, it's kind of the color range I can get on copper, just purely using the heat on it.
Yeah.
And, it's because copper heats up very quickly. That's the difference.
Compared to the
stainless, yeah.
Wow.
And so you can't control it as much. You have to almost do it very lightly, and then it'll kind of just move across the material. And so in order to do a lot of the patterning and stuff on the copper, I use a Sharpie. And so that's how I get the kind of the veining and stuff on the leaf itself.
Okay, so
yeah, and that holds. It kind of burns out, but then comes back. It's a real interesting process.
Wow.
But
and the shadows are amazing too.
yeah, so that way I was able to get some pretty intricate patterning that's part of a leaf form.
Yeah. Was this a different? So did you use like a red Sharpie on this one?
I actually did.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's funny, the different Sharpies act different.
I'm sure they don't translate the way they would on paper.
Yeah, and some don't at all transfer.
Yeah.
And some colors just don't work. And I found that green and red worked fairly well, but I tried all Sharpies to see what the possibility
was explored.
Yeah.
I'm going to just take a quick look at these Gingo Leaves in this series as well. And then maybe we can look at some of the baskets. And the, I don't know, would you like to start with the wall piece or this blue?
Yeah, well, we could start with this one here. This is an example of a piece that I had created before, probably about 2.5 years ago. And decided during COVID here to add these leaf elements and the blue elements to it. So, I had a form that I liked, which at the time I even thought it was done. But then having that time frame of COVID and just more of an opportunity to live with the work longer, and I could then add things to it. So that's what I did in this case here. And to me now, it's a much more finished piece. And so it also kind of taught me something about, sometimes you could think you're done with something, but you're really not. And you just need to live with it longer, and then see where it might actually go.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. So I'm just going to show for the camera and the people watching these individual leaves that have been added on.
Yeah, see this, the form itself, that's stainless steel.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It almost looks like copper.
Yeah, it's actually stainless. And so the leaf itself is copper.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that's what I started doing with these pieces. I started combining those two materials.
Oh.
And part of the reason is there's just different thing I can do with the copper that I can't do with the stainless.
Yeah.
But combining the two, then you can get these different colors going on and
Beautiful.
Different ways of patterning things and stuff. So it just broadens the range of visual possibilities.
And these kind of like tendrils or whatever they are, like stems, are all like hand wrapped with copper wire.
Yeah, that's been something I've been doing with my work for a number of years.
Yeah.
It's kind of these tendrils or branches and things.
That's beautiful. And then the glass frit is just kind of like a final
Yeah,
adornment
yeah.
sometimes.
The frit, that's basically crushed stained glass, and I glue it together with silicone. So,
Okay.
yeah, so that's how those are made.
Oh, so that's where the color comes from, is crushed stained glass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a way for me to add color to my work, but wanting to do it with a material and not with painting and stuff. So that's how I started using that.
Oh yeah, speaking of painting, can we go for a minute and look at the one piece over here that you did add touches of enamel to?
Oh, yeah.
That worked so beautifully.
Yeah, there's a maple leaf piece that I used the, first this is stainless, so this is all stainless steel. But the kind of the dots here are done with a butane torch, and then I went in with just enamel paint and made these little silver,
tiny little,
which I wanted to either to think that there's stars or it's snow falling or it suggests those kind of things.
It's very effective.
So that's why I called it maple leaf on winter night or something
Exactly.
like that.
It's very effective. It's a kind of ethereal looking, like a lot of these are, because they do get, and this one's in copper completely, is it? Copper mesh?
Yeah, this is all copper here. Actually this was a piece that I had created without these leaf forms, and that was kind of added a little bit later. So which more completed the piece once I did that.
And we have these pieces up on a gray wall, but they also, any surface, they look different. They look great on white walls, and then when you have them on wood, it looks completely different.
Yeah, the copper looks pretty good on all types of walls.
Yeah, the copper will show up more.
Yeah, the stainless probably do better if it's a little bit darker, but the copper works pretty well on a white wall.
Since we're standing next to this piece that's seeking nature's balance, which is so beautiful, and it's a suspended piece. I'm going to try to step back and not wiggle the camera too much. Do you want to talk a minute about that?
Over the years, like since 1983, I've done a lot of suspended pieces, and people years ago, that's how they really knew of my work more than anything, was the suspended work. And so this is one of those pieces, and I've done a lot of kind of plumb bob kind of forms, which is what this is. This was a piece that I had created the main body of it probably about 3-4 years ago, and had it arranged a little differently. Wasn't happy with that. It was hanging around the studio. And finally I took what I had on here off, and then this was the final piece I did for the show here, and added all the leaf forms here.
I'll come up close so we can see those.
Yeah, and to me now this piece is done.
Yeah,
finally. Yeah, I feel really satisfied with it.
Yeah. And it's got a very intricate patterning on the body of it too. It looks to me very intricate.
Yeah.
And it's copper stitched seams.
Copper wire I stitch, and this is stainless steel. The body is, and then this part here is copper.
Copper leaves.
Yeah, and these are copper wrapped tentacles forms with the frit.
And then you have those great little antennae, or what did we call them? Tendrils or something like that. I love those.
It's an appendage.
I'm just curious for my own interest, what this shape is always makes me think of Morocco. Is there any kind of like, where did this shape come from for you?
Yeah, well, for me they're figurative. They suggest a body, a person, like you got a head, you got a body.
Yeah.
So that, and also a plumb bob. When I was a kid, my one brother became an engineer, and he had a plumb bob. And matter of fact, I still have that plumb bob. And it was just a form I really liked. And it kind of stuck with me all these years.
Yeah.
And so it became something in my work that's, plumb bob, you're finding a center point, you're finding a perfect vertical.
Oh, that's what a plumb bob is. Is that carpentry?
Yeah, it is, and for engineering and stuff.
Okay.
You know. And so, you know, there's a sense of balance with that, and finding balance.
Oh,
And then the figure, then you combine those things. And so
That's-
that's how I kind of use it as sort of a visual language.
that's so cool. I never, that brings a lot. Although I always just, it's a beautiful piece. And I love how when you move around it, some things disappear and some things pop up.
Yeah.
So-
That's the thing that really attracted me to mesh, is the semi-transparency of it.
Yeah.
And so if you're creating a form, you can see through inside of that form and then back through it and then maybe into another form that's on the other side.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
It's
Kind of like a scrim in some ways.
Yeah, and so it lends itself to a lot of sort of complexity with doing installations and stuff.
Oh, yeah. And well, it is like a stage thing. I love this piece up front too, which it's like a pod shape. And then you
Yeah.
also have, I'm going to just go over to this one too, which is kind of the pod shape with the beadings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last wall is, we've got this really interesting, beautiful little shape, which is called cornucopia.
Yeah, the mesh also lends itself to really these kind of wonderful shadows that can
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
So it's almost like creating a drawing element with a three-dimensional work
Oh, yeah.
on the wall. So that's always kind of fun.
Completely.
With the work. Yeah.
And it's, yeah. And what's great is, depending on the time of day or the way you move your light, it changes
Yeah.
completely. And then you've got several pieces that are flat and backed with panel. But this is not truly flat. I'll go at an angle so you can see
Yeah.
the wings are
Yeah, those are
set in. Are
bee
they set
wings
in?
again.
Bee wings?
Yeah, they're not. You know, they're kind of on the board that's behind
okay.
there, but they do come out a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. And you can see up close this long leaf. And that, again, the iridescence we started talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And the leaf on pebbles. This has been really informative for me, which I love. Is there anything else you wanted to add at all, Lanny?
I guess not. Yeah, it's been a fun body of work to do. About a year and a half worth of work. Yeah, it was just kind of a real pleasure doing it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's a real pleasure having it here. It's had a wonderful response, and we're still up for at least 2 more weeks, so come and see it in person. And thanks a lot, Lanny. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Well, thanks for hosting the show.
Yeah.